Okay, and welcome back. And I feel like it took forever to get to this point. Since the last one, had quite a few issues printing some of these parts, but this is where we left off last time, so last week. And I went ahead and bonded here, and as you can see, I also painted the on the instrument panel, and I did that to match the decal. And again, from last time, all the black parts are 3D printed and bonded on, and I just went in and painted inside there. And bonded along here and bonded all of here. Now, I didn't say this last time, but because I didn't think about it. But this would be a perfect opportunity to test fit this onto the rider. And I'm actually glad I did that because there was an issue. I fixed it for years. Also, I forgot to tell you, don't glue the head on. I don't know, I guess it says, well, yeah, they never even have you, actually, you're like right here. When they tell you to put the head on here, they don't tell you to not glue the head on. But the only way to get this on here as his backpack, you have to take the head off. The instructions on the back tells you that, but the step here doesn't say not to glue it. So don't glue the head on. I just never glued it on yet because I was waiting to see what I wanted to do as far as the battery and the switch for the lights, which I've made a decision on that, I think. I'll talk about that here in a minute. So I'm still trying to figure out a way to make the head kind of snap in place, because right now it fits a little loose, and I'm trying to figure out a way to make it kind of snap on or snap off. I've got a few ideas. I just have to, do something with that. So again, hopefully you didn't glue the head on, and if you didn't, then don't. So to right now, to test fit this onto here, we have to raise this part up and then swing this part up here, and that will fit in, come on, just like that. And this part goes down. Also, I had to shave out a lot on this edge right here to get this to slide up and down freely. So it should look like this. And then this goes over the rider this way, like that. And of course, his head then goes back on right there. And you got to make sure that this part right here, right there, has to go into that hole. And it should, oh, come on, it did. Hold it this way, maybe. There we go, just like that. So that goes in like that. And so that's the rider. Of course, these arms and legs and head is off, but that's the rider with the motorcycle backpack, which just looks completely ridiculous. But that's what it is, and that's how it should go. And again, when I very first test fitted this, that did not line up here because the linkage here, let me pop that back off again. This linkage right here was just a little bit too short. So I redrew it, reprinted it, and now it works fine. So yours should fit fine. You shouldn't have an issue with yours. But test fit that before you bond all of this together, just in case you have to make changes. So now that that fits, I can put that away. And let's focus on the next steps. So we are ready for steps 16 and 17. That's going to be the focus of this week, 16 and 17. So we need quite a few parts here. We need one of those for each side. And this one, I put the, that's the handle, steering bar handle. So that handle looks like this. I just printed as one piece. I think it came out pretty good. The ball end got a little bit misshapen, but that's okay. It'll still work. By the way, that is not glued in place. That can still move. And the way I did that, my original plan was, let me flip this back to normal. Flip that back down, close this. this goes on here like that. That post right here is supposed to go up and hold that handle in. I made it a little short because I wanted this to be able to move freely, and I was afraid if that was too tall, then it would jam it up and keep that from going on and be too hard to get it just right. So I made it a little bit short, and my plan was to just put a spring on here. I was going to put a spring around here, and that spring would, let me show you what this looks like with the handle in. So the handlebar goes in like this against this little ball so it can spin around. And my idea was for the spring to kind of push into that and hold it, which worked. A spring works. But when I did that, it just felt kind of like ratchety, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word or not. So I did something a little bit different. I tore off a piece of foam from a sponge, and I stuffed it in the hole there, and I glued it in place. That sounds kind of dumb, but it works. If it works, it's not dumb, right? So that gives me a nice feel for the handle. That was actually really kind of what I was looking for. You know, it'll move easily, but it stays right where you put it. And that little post here will still set right here, and it'll keep that sponge from pushing out. It's just glued all the way around. Just something soft and squishy so it has a little bit of a play in there. And it's not too tight. It's not too loose. So that works. All right, so anyways, the two side pieces, they print this way, that way, with infill, not infill, support material here. The support material looks like this. It all popped out in one piece. I did cut, that's actually the other one. So a setting like that. I did cut that away so it wouldn't break that post because I pried it up from here and pried it up that way. But anyways, it came out okay. Came out fine. All right, so let's get back on track here. So we got those, we got the handlebars, and we also need two of these side pieces here, left and right hand sides. And we need, this one's already put together, but we need this part here. We need two of those, like that. And the pin that this rides on, I printed in two pieces like this, so they go together to make one piece. Now in the kit, this piece and that pin are metal. And I had thoughts of making them out of aluminum, but you know, I think they're metal in the kit, so because they're really small, they wanted the strength, but you print them up 3 times bigger. They're plenty strong, they're plenty stiff, they work fine. They're ABS, so they're a little bit stronger than the PLA. This is PLA. This part's PLA, but these pieces here are ABS. So that works out fine. I didn't have to machine those out of aluminum or anything, so those are good. And we also need these two pieces. And we need lenses, headlight lamp lenses. And I already got one glued in place here. There's one of them in place. I think it looks pretty good. And these now on the kit lens, that part goes all the way back to here. It butts up against that wall here. I just thought that was a lot of unnecessary printed plastic. So I just made it shorter. I super glued it in place. I used CA. Took kind of a risk doing that because sometimes CA can cloud up or fog up clear parts. But those only took 10 minutes to print. That took 10 minutes to print. So I figured if it fogged it up or clouded it up, I just cut it out and print a new one and use a different type of glue. But those go together that way. Mix up the front of the bike. And that's it. Those are all the parts we need. So first thing we can do is assemble these and glue that lens in. And then these plates here go on like that. Now I did kind of, I guess, screwed up. I don't know. See how that hole kind of covers up part of that wall right there? Well, on the other side, that post goes into that hole. That's what lines these up. Oh, wait a minute, put those on the wrong side. Goes that way. That one goes here. And so that post goes into that hole to kind of keep those aligned. You notice, though, I had to trim that off because that interfered with that wall here. So what I think I'll do on the CAD, it really doesn't have to be that long. It really only needs to be as long as the thickness of the next plate. So I'll just shorten that down in the CAD instead of moving it. So by shortening it down so it's flush with this one, it won't interfere with that other piece. So I'm just mentioning it in case you notice that mine's trimmed or cut or whatever. Yours you won't have to mess with, you'll be fine. Okay. Now, with the lights. The lights. I've been going back and forth with the lights many times. You remember on the legs, I put a light right in here. I've been watching the show. I've been watching the Robotech series. And you don't get to this vehicle. It's called a Cyclone. You don't get to this vehicle until season 3. And I'm about halfway through season 3. And I have not noticed, of course I don't know if I've been looking or not, but I have not noticed that lit up. So I don't even know if that's supposed to be a light or not. I mean, it looks like it should be, but I don't know if it is. And then I got to thinking about the lights here. My first intention was to put some LEDs in here. And I knew that went in like this and came in and out this way. So I intended to run the wires through here, through a shaft, I would have made that hollow, and out here and then into here and have the battery in here. But this actually, when you lift that up, it swings around this way. So that wouldn't work. I know I could figure out a way to put the wires here, have a loop of wires, but I don't know, it just wasn't, I don't know, I'm on the fence about the lighting here. My other idea was there's plenty of room here to put a battery, little button cell battery and a switch, but then I'd have to have one on each side. So I'd have to have 2 batteries, 2 switches, plus the battery and the switch and the rider. And it just was turning into more and more of a project than I had anticipated. Plus this whole thing was supposed to be just a filler project to give me something to do until the weather was nice enough to start painting on my other projects, which the weather is nice enough. So I kind of want to get this done. I kind of just want to finish it and be done with it. I kind of would like to have lights in here, so I'm still kind of on the fence. I guess I could always come back in here later and cut that out, put LEDs in there later, maybe. I don't know. I'm leaning towards just not putting lights in it. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. But anyway, so I'll still think about that some more. So let me get those bonded together. I'll get the other headlight lens in. And then we'll start assembling all of this stuff. Now, I already did some test fitting, and it's a little tight. It's a little bit rough, but I'll show you what I mean here when we get to that. All right, so you can see you got both lenses in, and they fit together. Again, that hole, or that post goes in that hole, and that kind of helps hold them together like that. All right. So next up, I already bonded those together and trimmed off the brim a little bit. So all we got to do is put this in here. No trimming was really needed. That fits pretty well as is. And then this just goes into the hole right here. And it should just go in nice. I didn't do any trimming or sanding yet. Maybe I'll need to. Oh, there it went. It's like that. That is a pretty good fit. I'm not going to glue it because if I have to take this part apart, I don't know why I would. I don't know. It fits fine without glue. I'm not going to glue it. It's not just going to fall out. And you have to pull really hard. For some reason, I've noticed parts like this, and they press in okay. You go to pull them out, they just don't want to come out. So I'm not going to glue it. All right. So next part, I want to go ahead and put the handlebar in this one. Now it did leave a little bit of a bump there. So that just goes in here. And I'm just going to cut off a piece of the foam. Again, a spring. I need a new blade in here. A spring would work. A spring might be, in some regards, better, maybe. I don't know. But I just cut off a piece and I just stuff it in the hole. Just stuff it in there like that. It almost stays on its own. But as you can see, that gives a nice can put that where I want and it stays. All right. Actually, I forgot, that felt a little bit rough. Just the way it printed. Now this printed, yeah, this printed standing up this way on the bed with just a little brim and a little bit of support. So the end got a little bit messed up. So I'm just going to try to, with a dull blade here, trim that a little bit more roundish, just to help it a bit. That might make it feel a little bit smoother as I'm moving it around. Again, we'll just stick that back in there. Like that. And I think that'll work. And again, this is just to keep it from popping out, so I'm just going to go around the edge a little bit. Of course, once it's all installed, it shouldn't pop out, because there's a little, like I said before, a little post right there will just kind of help hold that in. All right, there it is. That'll work. Okay, now comes the hard part. First off, when these go on, that post, or that peg, goes in that hole. That post, or peg, goes in that hole. So before we get too carried away, we need to make those fit. Now I've already done this one. I'm going to have to do the other side. I went a little bit too much up here. It's a little bit loose, but when I glue it on, I'll make sure it's centered. The one down here is still a little bit tight, and it'll just kind of pushes in place and kind of locks in. I don't want to say the best way to do it. I did make them a little bit tight. What I did, I just took a blade, sharper would be easier. I just go around here, and it makes that lovely scraping noise. I just went around the hole this way to open it up, and on the posts I just took some sandpaper and just knocked the edges off the posts here and here, and again here, just went around the edge here. Again, I'm going to have to do this one. So go around the edge like this, just to open up that hole. And I haven't sanded this one yet. But this one is ready to go. So we'll do this one and get this one done, and then I'll do the other one off camera, show you what it looks like all done. All right, so once you got this fitted nicely, next step is to take this piece, and that slot rides on that post, like so. And then we put it on, and that peg goes through that hole. So got to line all that up and get the pins in the holes. I think I missed. Yeah, I missed. All right. Come on. So that one, and top one there. So what happens then, I'm just holding that together. For transforming it into the backpack, this lifts up and then around this way, and then this post right here goes in that hole here. So it goes in like that. That's not a really tight press fit. I've been thinking about maybe using magnets or something to help hold it, but I don't know. I'm going to wait and see, because there's another piece that goes on here that's in the next few steps. Not the next exact step, but a few steps later. There's another piece that goes on over here, another fairing. So right now that's kind of loose. I don't know exactly yet. I mean, it'll set there like that. I mean, this is how it sits. Of course, that locks in here. This is how it sets as the backpack this way. Kind of hard to get all that in camera. But it sets that way as his backpack. Of course, this part flips up. That part's kind of the easy part. The hard part is putting it back into the bike, into the motorcycle build. This comes up and it slides in, but the instrument panel has to come up. And then that slides in and locks into the instrument panel. Like that. And then that post goes into that hole. And it's a tight fit, but it will do it. At least it did yesterday. And the instrument panel, the dash, is not quite lined up straight. There it goes. And come on, get in there just like that. Like that. And of course the other side goes on the other side. Yeah. So it's like that. Things are tight right there. So that's not the easiest thing in the world to do that. But it does work. And then to take it apart, those slide up and around and back to here, and then this slides down like that. Hopefully that all makes sense. Oh, and I'm forgetting something very important before we bond that on, and that's the wheels. So I'm going to put this back here just to kind of keep it there. We need, for the front wheel, we need, which is this side, that's this one here on this side, left side. We need, which one is it? Not that one. This one. The one with that tread pattern. This is the one that does not slide. The one that's bonded in solid. This one does not slide. The other wheel that does slide goes in the back. All right, so we'll put that to the side for now. This goes in here. So we need to take this back off. This goes, oh, and I forgot, you need these bushings too. They fit almost perfect. They slide into this part pretty well. Don't really have to trim that too much at all. You got to open up that hole a little bit to get a nice tight friction fit here, because this has to be able to move this way. So a nice tight friction fit in there. Now, as you can see, that's not right. Hold on, let me flip that around, spin that around this way. There we go, that's better. That's better. Make sure that's down all the way. And then get this back in place. And then find the pegs and the holes. And it's just a lot of making sure everything is lined up. Looks like it is. And then we can, it's too big to get in the camera almost. Then we can start squeezing that together and bonding that together with solvent or something to get that out of the way. We can start bonding all that together. Okay, yeah, kind of a pain in the rear. I don't know if I showed the engine. The engine is right there, slides down. There's the engine. You got to push that up to put it on for the backpack side. One concern I have, this piece right here is very, well, there's a lot of weight on it. This wheel is heavy. And as you're moving things around, you can possibly break this. I'm going to do my best to not do that, because that would be a pain in the butt if that broke after that was blended on. And I did think about putting some screws in here, but there's not really a lot of, I don't know, not a lot of good ways to screw stuff in there. So instead of gluing those pins, instead of gluing in here, I'm going to glue along the edge, so that if that does break, I can always just slice right through here, pop that off, and then replace that piece. Yeah, hopefully when it's all done. I don't know. With all this weight hanging off of here, it's making me a little bit nervous that things are going to be more difficult to manage, keep a handle on. But we'll see, should be fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bond that in place off camera. I'll put the rear wheel on off camera, but basically the rear wheel goes on like that. Can't even get all that in view. When it's all together, I'll try to get a better view of it so we can see the whole thing together. Okay. It's just that when I handle this, I'm going to have to make sure I hold the wheels and the body at the same time, just so I don't put too much stress on this piece right here. Which I don't know how I'm going to do that once both wheels are on, but I guess we'll find out soon enough. So anyways, let me get this bonded on. I'll get the back wheel on, and then we'll see what it looks like when all of that part is done. Alright, I'm not going to lie to you. That was not easy. Now, it did help to take the wheels off. If you remove little cap right there, take that cap off. It's not glued in, it just pops out. You can take the screw out, then the wheel comes off. So I took the wheels off. That took a lot of the weight off of it while I was putting it together. Then the last thing I did was put the wheels on. It is sitting up on a little paint jar there. Now, the finished, obviously it's not done yet. I mean, there's another fairing that'll go here. There's also a strut that'll go from here up to here, I think. Not positive, I hope. Because right now those wheels are kind of wobbly. So there should be another fairing on the back side from like here up to keep that straight. And again, it's leaning on a paint thinner can there, because without that it would just fall over. But I got the windscreen installed. There you can see the, again, the dash and instrument panel. Got the windscreen installed, just a few little views of it. I think it looks kind of cool. It's, I am a little concerned that it's just too heavy and flimsy. I don't know. The only thing I can do is push on and keep going and hope it turns out okay. But that's it for this week. If you are building this along with me, just don't say I didn't warn you. It's, I don't know, it's not easy. It's not easy. Probably what'll happen is when it's done, I will probably just gently pose it, take a few, photos and action shots and stuff, and then maybe just have it strictly display model. And I'm thinking about selling it. Maybe I'll put it on eBay, maybe. I don't know. I really don't have a good place to display it here. So that's why I'm kind of thinking that maybe this will end up on eBay. But whoever buys it is going to have to understand that it's fragile. And yeah, it's, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's looking okay, I think. But I'm just going to push on and carry on and get the thing done and see what it's like when it's all finished. There's a part of me that's kind of wanting to, at a future date, revisit this. I mean, make a new one, but actually sand it smooth, paint it, actually make it like the color scheme for the actual thing in the show, in the cartoon, and actually make some of the parts out of metal, like actually make that, like turned aluminum on the lathe, make that out of cast aluminum, make an actual aluminum engine, maybe some carbon fiber panels and fairings, you know, actually make it like a legitimate motorcycle. But I don't know. That's a project for way future down the road. We'll see how this one turns out first. But anyways, this is where I'm going to end it here. Next on the next step is 18. That's just a stand. That'll definitely help hold this thing upright. So I'll make the stand. Then we get onto these pieces here. Those mount to the front, and they can also be mounted on his forearms, the rider's forearms, I think. So I might I'll definitely combine those two and probably step 20. That's on the other side, which the bike is on. So next time will be 18, 19, and 20, and maybe 21 and 22, maybe. We'll just kind of see how it goes. But anyways, at least I've got an upright standing thing that looks like a motorcycle. So far, I'm pleased, but concerned. Until next time, thanks for watching.